FAU begins the 2018 season with the second longest winning streak in the country at 10 in a row. Only Central Florida has won more. They're the defending champions in the East. They're also the defending champions in Conference USA. FAU last year had an outstanding season, finishing with a record of 10-3, and they join us right now. Head coach Lane Kiffin. Lane, good to see you again, buddy.
Good to see you.
Also joining us, a man that just kind of has the perseverance. We're going to talk to him in just a couple of minutes. Linebacker Al-Shaair, three-time All-Conference USA. Good to have you here. And also Devin Singletary, who lived up to his nickname Motor last season. Lane, I want to talk to you. At the beginning of the year, about halfway through the season, you told me that you were talking to the team about possibly this team could have a movie made about them because you sensed something special was happening at that point. Take us back when you realized that this was going to be a special year.
Well, I think probably, at Western Kentucky, it was a cold weather game. It actually was the last time these guys were ever behind in a game, down whatever, 10 or 14 or something like that. And to come back and win that game, and then from that game, they've not trailed, for 1 second, however many games that's been, 8 games, 7 or 8 games, is really remarkable.
And the fact that you just kept plugging along, and you were very, very confident all of last season, and you challenged the guys in practice every day, and you still do that.
Yeah, we have, we make it really competitive, and it helps to have really good players, and really to have, a team that's just not, an offensive team or a defensive team, so that it can't really be competitive, because one side's, so much more dominant than the other, has really helped.
You tied an FAU record for wins last season. Now with that comes expectations. How do you manage the expectations not only on the football field, but in the buildings and also in the community?
Well, just reminding these guys what got them there, hard work and preparation, and, it's not going to get easier, it's going to get harder, because now everybody's studying them all off season. They're trying to figure out how to stop them as players and as offensive, defensive, and special team systems.
Well, when I was talking to Azeez before, I said, when did you finally decide, okay, we got to forget about last year? Because when we got our rings, we went, okay, that closes the door on that. Did you feel that way too?
I did. I thought, these guys do a really good job of that, and it is difficult because, outside of the building, they hear it all the time, and, the expectations get high, and, like it's like we're not even an underdog in the opener versus Oklahoma,
Right.
And you talk to people around there, they just think, we're going to go win the game.
Yeah, have they ever been to Memorial Stadium, Owen Field?
I don't think so.
I don't think they've been there either. You have a new offensive coordinator in Charlie Weiss Jr., the youngest offensive coordinator in modern-day history. But you had a comment, and I would tend to agree with this. It doesn't matter what the age is; it's the experience factor.
Yeah. What does age mean over experience? If I've coached for 10 years, and you've coached for 10 years, but we're 10 years difference in age, we're the same,
Exactly.
And so when everybody else was playing in college, Charlie was already coaching. So that's why the age thing really doesn't matter in this situation.
Are you going to have to combine what you did last year offensively with maybe some of his principles? And part number 2 of that question, are you going to go back to calling plays?
We're figuring that out. He calls them now, and so it's good practice for him. And then, we'll just kind of figure that out as we get closer. And he's brought some good ideas, that they did at Atlanta this last offseason.
And are you going to try to combine a little bit of that from what you did last year? Because last year, obviously, so up-tempo, a lot of hand signals. Hand signals probably still the same. But do you try to have to kind of combine both systems to make it a little more balanced?
A little bit. We don't want to change too much because we need playing really well.
Right.
But at the same time, too, you've got to guard against, like what we referred to when we talked to them about your ego, coming in that, okay, hey, we got this thing figured out because we did play so
Right.
well. You've always got to be evolving and trying to keep up with things and change.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the football because obviously you also have a new defensive coordinator. You got him from Southern Miss, Tony Pecoraro, in his first year. What does he bring to the table?
Very multiple. What I like also is that he knows the conference. He's been in the conference, been a coordinator in this conference, knows the offensive coordinators, and has gone against him. So that's very valuable.
Well, when I watched him in Southern Miss last year, a couple of things stood out when I went back and looked at tape. He likes to disguise things a lot, and he likes to blitz a little more. Will that be the same here for you?
Yeah, to me, when you hire someone, you got to let them. You got to, especially on the other side of the ball, you got to let them run their system, not try to make him run your system from before. So he's very multiple, very aggressive, and creates a lot of havoc.
I think what people don't understand, too, when you look at this FAU team, yes, they're returning 10 starters, but when I see it, and you and I talked about it last year, this is still a very young team on defense.
It is. Like you said, return 10 of 11 guys, and, but got a lot of depth at some spots on defense, where a year ago we did not. And so whether that's transfers or high school kids, we've been able to add a lot of kids up front, especially on defense.
Well, let's talk to Azeez Al-Shaair, three-time All-Conference USA. Just won the Wilma Rudolph Award for overcoming adversity. Excuse me, and you and I were talking about that. When you were about 13 years old, your house burned down, and you have overcome so much in your life. So how special is it to get an award named after one of the greatest athletes in our history?
It's real special. I think when I first started looking it up, and seeing what was going on with the award itself, because I really wasn't sure what it was, and just starting to read up on it and seeing everything she went through. Wilma Rudolph, I was honored to, be in the same name, even category with somebody like that.
Preseason Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. Your defense, and I probably had 4 of your games last year, you guys took a lot of pride in not allowing teams to do what they wanted to do. Where did that start with?
I think just with our old defensive coordinator, Coach Kiffin, just implementing, making sure we were always on point with what we needed to do. And like you said, really just having that pride to just make sure we weren't going to let other teams, do what they wanted to do. We were going to let them do what we wanted them to do. So just having that mentality, whether it's through off-season workouts, just making sure we did everything we needed to do to get to where we wanted to be.
Now, we were chatting about an hour or so ago, and I asked you about having 3 defensive coordinators in 3 years. Doesn't seem to bother you a whole lot, does it?
No, it really doesn't. I think actually it kind of helps me because it helps me, be more versatile and understand, different terminology and things like that. So for me, I like it, just being able to learn, different things from different people because Coach Chris Kiffin taught me a lot of different things. My old defensive coordinator, Coach Bellantoni, taught me a lot of different things. And even now, my 4th year in college football, and I'm still learning new things with Coach Peck. So, I think it's really good that you get to learn, from 3 different people who, know football.
Not only do we have the preseason Defensive Player of the Year on the stage with us, we also have the preseason Offensive Player of the Year in Conference USA, Devin Singletary, better known as Motor to all of us. Last year when I was talking to Coach, I said, tell me about Devin Singletary. He told me, and I quote, he could be a very special player. That goes under the heading of, yeah, you got that one right. What was last year like for you?
It was fun, just seeing all the hard work, that we put in, how it paid off. And the sky was the limit, pretty much.
Led the nation in rushing touchdowns with 32. You had 33 overall. You led the NCAA, also in points scored. And when we were talking, you said the rushing touchdowns maybe surprised you a little bit, as many as you had.
Yeah, they did. Like I said before, we kind of seen the rushing yards coming because, that's all we had talked about. But, yeah, the touchdowns were definitely a surprise.
So now what do you do in the offseason? Because everybody's coming up to you going, Motor, outstanding year. Boy, you're great. You're fabulous. How do you temper that with what you still have to do?
Just keep your head down, keep working. The things that we did, it was good, but let's try to do something better this year. Let's keep finding ways to get better.
Coach, let's stick with offense because obviously you lose a quarterback. Driscoll decided not to come back. Give us an update on the quarterback situation for you right now.
Well, it's very competitive. Both guys are extremely talented, high-profile recruits, signed with Oklahoma and Florida State out of high school. But, they've got to manage the offense. Driscoll did a great job of doing that last year and limit negative plays.
Well, I look at Chris Robinson. You mentioned the Oklahoma recruit, and I remember watching him actually at an Oklahoma practice. He's got a big arm.
He does, very talented, and he runs really well. So we're in a really good position there.
And DeAndre Johnson, is he the number 2 guy, or not number 2, but the second person that's battling for this?
Yes, he is, and again, very talented, possesses, really good arm and really good feet. So now we just got to figure it out.
and he has to overcome too, because he had a blood clot in his arm last year, wasn't allowed to play, and I think a lot of us were really expecting to see him last season. Do you have to tweak the offense to fit their ability, or cut back a little bit at the beginning?
Well, I think you cut back at the beginning with any new starter, especially if it was Chris, because he's just a freshman. So, but with both guys, you want to cut back so that they get off to a really good start.
Okay, one final question, and you mentioned it briefly, playing Oklahoma to open up the season. A lot of people, Oklahoma, are going, oh, these guys were pretty good. You guys aren't going to be intimidated by going into the stadium, will you?
No. These guys have played in big places before, last year, and finished playing really well. So I know they're excited for the challenge.
Wayne, always good to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
Time to get things going. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Wish you the best of luck. We'll continue with Conference USA Media Days from Baylor Scott & White Performance Center in Frisco, Texas, right after this.